Rubber game of this series on deck after Ole Miss responded yesterday with a 7-2 victory. The series decider here in Game 3 from KDC Scholl-Presley Stadium. The Florida Gators and the Ole Miss Rebels. Yeah, it's a little bit windy here on this Sunday. A big game here with SEC implications. With that, we welcome you inside. Alongside All-American pitcher Sidney Littlejohn Watkins, I'm Kyle Crooks. So glad that you can join us here today. Sidney, yesterday, really a big victory for the Ole Miss Rebels as they continue to try to pad their resume and try and get into the NCAA tournament field.
Absolutely, and you know, KDC Scholl-Presley Stadium is a very hard place to play if you aren't the Gators, so a really big confidence booster for this Rebels team.
Yeah, first win for the Rebels in this ballpark since 2014, so my math is correct, about 9 years. Well, let's take you how this game had gone. Going into the 5th inning, Florida had a 1-0 lead, so the Rebels having to play from behind for a second consecutive day. It was Brooke Bernard, the kid from Florida, going to opposite field, clear the bases, a 3-run triple.
Yeah, a great moment for Brooke Bernard. Usually playing in your home state, have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder.
And then Emily Wilkie in the bottom half of the 5th. Gators down a pair of runs after that triple. Wilkie bringing the Gators to within a lone run. So Ole Miss, well, Friday, they blew the lead. They do have a lead going into the 7th, but would create more than enough insurance. Paige Smith, her second home run of the weekend, blew this game wide open.
And I'm sure Paige Smith did not want to have that same feeling that she had leaving the field on Friday, knowing that they had the game in reach, was able to shut the door and get the win for the Rebels.
Take a look at some of the particulars. Second consecutive game in this series where the team that has had more hits, well, they've taken the L. Florida had 12 hits yesterday. They left 12 on base. So only 2 runs on those 12 hits, but Ole Miss, credit to them, had the clutch hits when they needed it, especially in a 4-run 7th inning, en route to a big SEC victory for Jamie Traxel's team. Meanwhile, for the Gators, it will be a different look. It was Hightower the first 2 days, so Sidney, it is the righty Lexi Delbray here on this Sunday.
And Lexi Delbray, a great pitcher for this Gators staff, has a great rise ball and really changes speeds well. So a different look from Hightower for the Rebels, but again, it's going to be really important for her to limit the free passes, the balls, the walks, and just really give her offense a good chance going, especially deeper into this game, giving them a chance to score.
So Coach Walton trying to find the right remedy in the circle, and Delbray will go up against this lineup. Brooke Bernard, who we showed in the highlight package, had the big bases clearing triple. We'll see the start in the 9 spot. Maya Stevenson in the 8 spot will be back in the starting lineup. The rest remains the same for Jamie Traxel, coming off that 7-2 victory yesterday, looking for their first series win ever at KDC Scholl-Presley Stadium. Sunsplash Day, first pitch is low and outside, and we are underway at 12:03 p.m. Eastern Time. So glad that you can join us. Kyle Crooks, All-American pitcher Sidney Littlejohn Watkins, Alabama Crimson Tide great to my right. So excited to work with Sidney here today. Tate Whitley has had a really good series. Had a hit yesterday in that 4-run 7th, multi-hit performance on Friday. Everyday leadoff hitter for the Rebels. Takes a strike, and the count is 2-1.
Yeah, I feel like Tate Whitley is really the definition of being able to set the table when starting off.
Started every game in the last 2 years. Today, her 221st start. Drag bunt laid down. Eccles has a long way to run, and it will be an infield bunt hit. Perfectly placed away from Eccles, who was playing down the line. And Ole Miss has a leadoff hit.
And Whitley doing a great job there of reading the defense, noticed that Wilkie was playing back, so kind of pulled the ball over to that first base side, giving Eccles a really long way to run, able to beat that out pretty easily.
Yeah, perfectly placed. Here's Savannah Sykes. And that hitter, or maybe not, being called back to the plate. Sykes was pretty confident that it hit her. Let's take another look at it.
Yeah, at first glance, I did not think that it hit her, but again,
I don't think it did hit her.
But I totally get that sometimes, you know, you got to play it off, make it look like it, especially if it was close.
Jamie Traxel talking with James Colzier, home plate umpire today. They are going to review this. So they're going to take a look at it. And if you've been with us in the first 2 days, Game 1 took 2 hours and 44 minutes. Game 2, 2 hours, 34 minutes. I think we're going to trend in the same direction today. With challenges, circle meetings, all part of it. And that first glance, Sydney, you know how batters like to act or lean into that pitch. It didn't look like it hit her. She was pretty confident.
Yeah, you know, especially as a pitcher, that was Delbury's rise ball, it looked like, but for me, it was a backdoor curve. And I used to get so aggravated whenever they would try to play it off. I'm like, oh, come on, at least, like, if I'm going to hit you, let me hit you, not just a little nick.
Right.
But
well, they're going to say no hit by pitch. That was pretty quick. Well, Jamie Traxel uses one of her reviews. It's 5 pitches into the game. And here's the key. And it's been the key all weekend for Gator starters, and in this case, Hightower started both days. You got to get ahead in counts because that has been a common theme the last couple weeks. 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, playing from behind. Well, that one hit her. No review needed.
yeah, that one was a little bit more of a no-doubter on that. But Kyle, you're exactly right. It is very important as a pitcher, as a starter, to go out, and again, you're trying to limit any damage in the first inning. You're setting the tone for what's going to be the rest of the game for your offense, and even for your defense playing behind you. And you know, whenever it comes down to free passes, that's something that slows the pace of the game, slows down your tempo. So what can you do to mitigate that?
Paige Smith stands in, who's had a monster weekend. Hit her 8th home run in SEC play, her 2nd of the weekend. We've already seen Hightower getting warm from the start. This could possibly be a quick hook or just a conversation here. Lexi Delbury, you can just sense the frustration right now for, you know, Coach Walton trying to find that right answer inside the circle. They know what the upside is of Lexi Delbury, and Coach Walton has said it repeatedly throughout the year. For us to be a really good team, we need Lexi to be really good. And last year in moments, she was extraordinary, but they've just yet to find it consistently this year.
Yeah, and I mean, watching her pitch, I mean, you see the spin that she has on the ball, the movement that she has. She has really great tools in her arsenal. So I feel like once she gets that confidence of being able to use and being able to execute her pitches at the moments that she wants to, you know, she's going to be a really unstoppable force. And obviously, you know, this year she's had to work through it a little bit more, had some things holding her back a little bit in the off season, and may still be, you know, kind of coming back from that, getting the experience back, getting form back, and that can take a while. It's just sometimes as a coach, you know, I can understand you don't want it to take as long as it may be taking.
Yeah. And it's hard to learn on the fly in the SEC, or at least try to improve on the fly in the SEC. Delbury's last appearance went 2 2/3 against Tennessee, allowed 4 earned runs on 5 hits with 3 walks. And that's ball 3, gets loose of Longley. Both runners move up. And Ole Miss dropped all of their cards. I believe that was Tate Whitley who had all the signs on there that came free as she took off towards third. So a rally here for Ole Miss in the first, a 3-0 count, and still nobody out.
And see, as the battery, you know, the pitcher and catcher relationship, this is where things get a little bit tough. You know, you have the walks, the hit by pitches, and then the free pass that gets on. So really important for Delbury to come and battle back one pitch at a time. You see, she just threw a strike right there. Now her mentality for the next pitch is attacking one pitch at a time. If she gets ahead of herself, usually that's where things can start to have a downward spiral.
Infield is in here on 3-1, and there's a strike. Well, for most of the season, when Delbury came back from that off-season surgery, her first appearance was February 19th. She was throwing a lot of strikes, did not have a lot of walks. That's changed here over the last handful of appearances. Smith flies this out towards left. Gels will make the grab. Whitley will tag. The throw works through, and it is late. And Whitley will score. Sac fly for Paige Smith. Another RBI on the weekend. And it's 1-0 Ole Miss.
And that's where, you know, the free passes come back to bite you, because a great pitch there by Delbury, working back in the count to get that pop up into shallow left field. And Gels really did make a good throw home, maybe just a little bit off. Would have liked to have seen it be a little bit more on the inside of home plate, but then again, Not quite sure if it would have made it in time. Yeah, she got in there pretty well. So
Here's Kayla Kamoku, and I think at this point, Sydney, you exchange a run for an out. The way things have trended in this inning, you give up a run at this point if it just means getting an out.
absolutely, especially with this Gators lineup that has really been pretty potent. I mean, again, 12 hits yesterday. So you know that they're going to hit the ball. So if it means giving up one run, I don't think one run's going to necessarily win this ball game.
There's a whole ball game ahead of you. So for Delbray, a big first out. You saw Gales out in left. She's played some games in center. Falby is in center today. Gales has a pretty good arm out in left field. Throw was on target, just a little bit late. There's Falby out in center. And the outfielders will have to deal with the wind, which is whipping pretty severely out towards center field. So balls will fly out there. Sprayed foul, 2-2 here to Kamoku.
Yeah, I've been a part of quite a few games where the wind does play a significant factor, especially on those really, really high pop-ups.
Runner at third here with one out. Count full. Delbray, this is her 6th start in SEC play, has yet to have a winning decision. Just south of a 7.5 ERA. Payoff. Strike 3, inside corner. Kamoku down looking. Delbray's fired up, so she slowly has tried to find her footing a little bit here. A couple of outs back to back.
And a huge pitch there for Delbray, going right in on that inside corner to Kamoku and just freezes her.
So it brings in Michaela Alley. Just under 300 on the average after yesterday. Every day starting shortstop. Had a hit, was hit by a pitch and walks. Was on 3 times yesterday, the native of Corona, California. Delbray trying to work that inner half to righties.
Yeah, I think that's where Delbray is more comfortable at, especially, you know, being a right-handed rise ball pitcher, usually throwing to that arm side. So once you can get that figured out and see how much you can extend the zone, seeing how far the umpire is going to give you on that inside corner, could be something that is important even later into the game. You know, especially if you are able to consistently hit a spot on the inside corner. Umpire may not give it to you at first, but they see you consistently hitting it, they may end up giving it to you.
That was ball 3. Michaela Alley thought she walked. Yeah, it's all about, as a pitcher, you know it, feeling out the umpire's zone early in the game. Obviously, they rotate every single day of a weekend series, so it's a new zone every day. Ball 4, 5-pitch walk to Alley. Second free pass of the inning. So first and third here with 2 outs. Brings in Jayla Lassiter. Rubber game of this series, Florida and Ole Miss. Ole Miss has never won a series here. Had their first win in this ballpark since 2014 yesterday. A 7-2 victory after the Gators came from 3 down in the 7th to win 6-5 on Friday night. This one gets past Longley, should bring in a run. As Sykes scores, the throw goes errant. Wilkie backing up, a wild pitch brings in the Rebels' 2nd run.
And again, Kyle, we talk about the free passes, and not necessarily a bad pitch here by Delbray, just one that runs in, and Longley was trying to get the frame on it, trying to work for her pitcher, and it just tips right off the glove. Just unfortunate there for the Gators.
Meanwhile, Alley moves down to 2nd, so she's in scoring position. Gators enter the day 9-11 in the SEC. Ole Miss 7-13. Right now, Delbray just struggling to find the zone. Another 3-ball count. Already has 2 free passes issued in this inning. Hightower's been warming, continues to stand and watch in that left field bullpen.
And you know, Kyle, I think this is one of those games where for both teams, it's going to be all hands on deck. I mean, this game has lots of implications for both teams. And I mean, it's Championship Sunday. No team wants to lose. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see both teams just throw out the kitchen sink today.
And that hits Lassiter. That could do it here for Delbray. Just, you look at it too, Sydney, how much of the game, you know, the tangible things for Delbray are there. She's a superstar when she was recruited. How much of it is mental, do you think, right now for her?
Oh, pitching is so mental, especially in the SEC. And, you know, we were talking about it a little bit before the game. The game itself has elevated so much that you don't really have, I mean, even in midweek games, you don't have those games as a pitcher where you can focus on one pitch that you're working on, or, hey, you know, you tell your pitching coach, hey, this game for Delbray, hey, I want to focus on getting my rise ball and maybe working a low rise that's for a strike, or, you know, whatever it may be. Want to focus on changing speeds. You don't have those games. It's like you have to be your best every single game, and that's really hard as a pitcher because the reality is you're not going to be your best every single game.
You get the sense that Coach Walton wants to at least get Lexi through this inning, just for some sort of confidence to get that third out. And then who knows after that what the case may be. There's strike one.
Well, and as a coach, it's so hard too because Ole Miss has seen Hightower both days,
right.
And you know, you want to give all of your pitchers that experience because postseason is right around the corner and you're
Yeah.
going to need everybody. So you want everybody feeling good, and you want to know as a coach what they are able to work through and what their limits are.
And I think Delbray in her history has had issues in first innings. It almost has been a mental block in this inning specifically where it just takes a while to get the wheels turning for her. And maybe if she does get through this inning, things start to get better in the second and beyond. Lexi Brady has a 1-2 count and pops this foul.
And you know, I personally was like that too, especially my freshman and sophomore year. I was more of a closer. Then junior year I had to evolve into more of a starting role, and it is completely different.
Yeah.
Especially mentally. I mean, you go in and you're like, wow, there's nobody on base. I'm not saving a situation. You know, it's like you have all of this. As a pitcher, you can think about it as you have all of this room for error, but you just need to execute.
Well, she battles back, gets the strikeout. Maybe a little bit of a confidence-building moment for Lexi Delbray. And the Gators do give up a pair runs. Sac fly from Paige Smith. The wild pitch brings in the Rebels' second run. As we're half inning complete, Rebels 2, Gators coming up when you return. This will be the lineup today for Tim Walton, already a 2-run deficit. Some changes. Kayla Pollard, first game back since March 26, was dealing with an injury. She will be in the DP spot. The rest of it stays the same for Coach Walton. Eccles is up in the 2 spot, Walsh in the 3 spot. Wilkie gets another start at first. So the Gators, who had 12 hits yesterday, the big issue for this lineup, they left 12 on base. They will face the starter of Friday night, McKenna Clethermis, the Oregon transfer, Sydney.
Yeah, and Clethermis, you know, she's mostly down in the zone, throws a lot of curve, a lot of drop, has a good combination of those. And I think the key for her is going to be kind of similar to Delbray. She's just going to need to limit the walks and free passes and really working on getting ahead of these Gator hitters.
Still a radical shift on most batters in this lineup, presumably today, at least to start here for Skylar Wallace as the 3 infielder look on the right side. She tried to lay down a bunt yesterday down the third base line, which is pretty much vacant. Savannah Sykes, the third baseman, is the only one out there right behind the circle. And here's a look at it, Sydney. This is what we've seen all weekend. Radical infield and outfield shifts according to those spray charts.
And you know, Kyle, I may just be old school, but shifts like this just make me so nervous, especially, you know, being in the circle in those moments, because it can, as a pitcher, I feel like sometimes it can give away the spot that you're throwing to and what you need to execute. But then again, I mean, if the stats show it, I mean, numbers don't lie. So it's just it's a great method. I do feel like, you know, it's a high risk, high reward.
Two-one to Wallace. I haven't had the chance to talk to you about the season Skylar Wallace is having. Front runner for SEC Player of the Year. What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just the year that she is having is, I feel like, you know, I hope that people who don't necessarily watch SEC softball have still gotten to see it and experience it the way we have.
Wallace lasers this to center, and a long run for Lassiter because she was in that shift like a track star at a 100-meter sprint. Made the catch in stride, and Wallace has an extra base hit taken away.
Yeah. Yeah, if Lassiter didn't read that ball perfectly, I don't believe there's any way that she would not have gotten to it.
Well, you saw Lassiter in center, Whitley in left, Bernard in right, Sykes, Alley, Kamoku, Smith third to first, Brady behind the plate doing the catching of Clee Thermos, Maya Stevenson back in the lineup. She is in the DP spot, the 12 home run hitter. So they get Wallace retired for the first out, and here is Charlotte Eccles, who homered against Clee Thermos on Friday night in the first inning. It was a 2-run home run off the light post out and right, and that was Charlotte's 10th home run of the year. Charlotte on pace for a possible career year. Definitely RBI-wise. She takes a strike. Last year, a career high in RBI was 59. She has 56 with still the final weekend of SEC play coming up and postseason. Career high in home runs is 15. She has 10. Eccles pounds this over first, twist foul.
Yeah, you talk about a 1-2 punch in the Gator lineup. You have Skylar Wallace and then Charlotte Eccles, especially, you know, as a pitcher, it's, you know, you think, okay, if I can just get through this next hitter, if I can get through this next hitter. But then you go to Walsh and Wilkie, and they've had some big at-bats this series too, so definitely a hard lineup to throw against.
She's had 4 hits on the weekend, has Eccles in 7 at-bats with 3 RBI, all coming in game 1. Had a big hit in the 7th on Friday night, line drive single that kept the Gators' heartbeat going in the 7th, led to the Reagan Walsh walk-off home run. Count full now.
And even though Eccles hit that home run in the Friday game, I do wonder if, you know, just looking at the weather, I'm just thinking way out of the box here, but that wind is really whipping, and with Clee Thermos just throwing more down in the zone, I wonder if that was more of a strategy just as a different look than Riley yesterday, or if it was more of, okay, we're trying to keep the ball in the park, so more down in the zone, usually the ball stays in the park a little bit more.
Yeah, good point. That one low. Eccles works a walk on a full count pitch, so the Gators' first base runner. Yeah, the wind is really doing tricks right now. The palm trees are swaying out in center field. There's the American flag out in center. There's a car parked right behind the flag. I think if one really hits that stream of wind, somebody's windshield is going out. That white car out there.
Yeah, you know, maybe I just feel like I have too much bad luck. I feel like I could never, my anxiety would just take over being parked out there.
You think about that the whole time.
Absolutely.
You got baseball in this area of the campus as well today, so you got cars parked just about everywhere. Reagan Walsh, the hero of Friday. She had a hit in the 7th yesterday to try and spark a Florida rally. But credit Caitlin Riley. Starter for Ole Miss. She was reinserted into the game. Finished up game 2, 6 1/3, and allowed a total of 7 hits. 2 runs which were earned, 4 walks and 4 strikeouts in her start.
And you know, I feel like that's really hard to be taken out of a game and then reinserted. Obviously, mentally, you want that game, you want to be in it, but I just think about physically, you know, you warm up, you start the game, get going, and then you get cold once you get pulled out, and then having to re-warm up again, you know, that's tough.
Let me give Riley's line again because I had it wrong in my book because of the whole reinserted factor of it all. 6 1/3, did give up 11 hits, a run which was earned, 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. Threw 132 pitches. That was a season high for her. Previous season high was 118. Furbush threw 2/3 of an inning, gave up a home run to Emily Wilkie. 2-1. Walsh back up the middle, surfs into center, base hit. Reagan Walsh continues a really good weekend and continues on the path for a career season for her.
and Walsh not trying to do too much. She gets the pitch, a drop ball, and just goes with it, hits it right back up the middle. And not anything special, but hey, it gets the job done.
Perfect compliment to Wallace and Eccles at the top of the lineup. And here's now Emily Wilkie. Talk about good weekends. Wilkie has continued to earn more and more starts. This is her 5th consecutive start today. Another at first. Rolls this foul for strike 1. Homered for the 2nd time in her career against Ole Miss yesterday. Actually had the game-winning home run against the Rebels in a series in Oxford last year. I believe the final game of that series, or one of the games in that series, went over 4 hours.
So Kyle, what you're telling me is that she really likes playing against Ole Miss.
She does, yeah. Do you have any teams particularly that you pitched well against in your career?
Oh.
Well, all of them, because you're an All-American, but any ones that like really stand out?
What comes to my mind first is the teams that I did not like pitching against.
There you go. We can go there too.
You know, I will say I do feel like I always did well at Florida, except for, of course, my senior year whenever we lost our super regionals here. Thank you, Amanda Lorenz, for that. But, you know, I liked throwing against Florida because, again, it's such a good program and such a challenge. So I felt like it was an opportunity to rise to the challenge.
It was always a big game when Florida and Alabama got together. It still is. 1-2 now to Emily Wilkie.
Yeah, how strange is it that, you know, Florida and Alabama both having kind of seasons that they're
very similar,
not used to necessarily, and it's the year that they don't play each other.
Rubber game for Alabama and LSU today in the softball side. Well off the plate to Wilkie, 2-2. Yeah, both Florida and Alabama, who have been the titans of the SEC last decade plus, are fighting to host regionals this year, get to a top 16 seed. Wilkie, big hack.
And Kyle, I just think that you know, plays to how much the game has grown. I mean, I'm going to age myself here. I've been out for 5 years, but it has changed so much in just 5 years. I mean, the fact that, again, Florida and Alabama are really fighting to host a regional, I mean, that would have never even been a conversation 5 years ago.
Tennessee's at the top of it right now, 17-2. You don't really see years like that in the SEC anymore, but how dominant Tennessee has been. The crowd's starting to get into it here. 1st and 2nd, 2 runs for the Rebels in the top half of the 1st. Clee Thermos comes set. Payoff. Ball 4 inside. Gators have them loaded, so responding with that 2-run first for the Rebels. It's now a bases loaded spot here for Pal Egan, and it will be a circle meeting for Jamie Traxel, who will come out there along with pitching coach Riker Chasen. You'll see a lot of these as the game goes along to settle down the pitcher. Usually you get only one coach per meeting, but Ole Miss has the pitching coach who will talk to the battery, and then Jamie Traxel will talk to the infield possibly about alignment because of the amount of shifts that they have.
Right, and I think Riker Chasen is just speaking to Clee Thermos about, you know, staying in the moment, not letting it back get away from her. I mean, that was a really close 3-2 pitch, and if I was Clee Thermos, I would probably be a little frustrated, more with myself that I didn't get that call, not so much an umpire thing necessarily, but just that, you know, those close pitches, you want them so bad. And so for her, I think it's about coming back, making sure that she focuses on this at bat, one pitch at a time, and really executing her pitches, and whether that's bringing it in just a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to bring it in too much.
Do have an arm getting warm, Brooke Vestall, who pitched really well up until that 7th on Friday night. That was the remedy for the Rebels in the first game of this series. They went from Clee Thermos to Vestall. Infield is going to be in here. There is only 1 out in the inning, so you can't play back. They want to try and cut off the run. Egan's had a good series, multi-hit game yesterday. First to her. Both pitchers in this first struggling to find the zone.
And their stat lines actually look really similar, so even though as a fellow pitcher, I hate to see pitchers struggle in the start. I mean, it's not completely a surprise, I guess, to see them both kind of mirroring each other.
Yeah, the days of the real dominant pitchers, I mean, I feel like they're starting to phase out a little bit. Montana Fouts, obviously, with Alabama, there are still a good grouping of them. I guess the offenses are just getting that much better. Roll through the right side, base hit. Heckel scores as Wilkie stops, or rather Walsh stops at third, and it will be an RBI single for Pal Egan. Gators cut their deficit in half. It's 2-1.
Pal Egan, just textbook softball right here, getting a low and in pitch, and you can see she swings even down to her knee to make sure that she gets it over to that right side to score the runner from third.
So base is still loaded, infield is still in, and another arm getting warm for Ole Miss. They've had Vestall getting warm, and also Grace Sparks, the freshman, now getting up to start to throw. Three infielders on the left side here for Longley.
And we see there from Clethermis, looks like an off speed. She doesn't really throw that a lot, so I think, you know, her coming in and starting to mix speeds at this point shows that she's trying to find something that's going to work for her.
Her 1-0. 2-0. Well, this could be the last batter here for Clethermis. Both pitchers similar laboring here in the opening inning. 29th pitch here for the Oregon transfer. Ball 3. No place to put Longley. One more out of the zone ties the game, and this crowd will get loud.
Well, the Gator fans came for a show today. They want this win just as much as the players do, and so they're not going to go down without a fight.
4-pitch walk ties the game at 2 as Walsh plates. Gators still have them loaded, just one out. And could this do it here for Clethermis? Jamie Traxel will come out and most likely will make a pitching change. Looks like they might go to the freshman here, Grace Sparks, who has opened the bullpen door. Well, 30-pitch first inning. It's been a marathon first that has seen 4 total runs. Gators not done quite yet, but how about the response here from Florida?
And that's exactly what Tim Walton wants from his team. And I can think about Delbray too. This kind of takes a weight off of her shoulders too. Again, you're back to pretty much a 0-0 ball game. So if she does work through this first inning and gets better as the game goes along, she knows that her defense or her offense is going to back her up.
So will be the freshman Grace Sparks. We'll tell you all about her when we come back to Gainesville. Bases loaded, 2-2 game. Only one out. For the first time this weekend, Ole Miss will go to the freshman righty Grace Sparks from Crosby, Texas.
And what we're going to see from Grace Sparks, again, kind of similar to Clethermis. She likes to go down in the zone. Her best pitch is a drop ball. Gets a lot of ground ball out. So again, something that Ole Miss is looking for here is just to get some outs. And you know, I really love this move by Coach Traxel. I mean, she's a freshman. You got to throw her to the wolves here.
So first time that she sees time in the weekend, and you got to face a bases loaded situation. Here's Kayla Pollard, by the way. Storyline in this game, Gators get her back after she was dealing with injury. First game since late March, and she's an impact bat as a freshman. Highly recruited, coming to the Gators, played in some of the top travel programs. One of those transported Gators from the state of California, Riverside native. 9 of her 15 hits have gone for extra bases. First 2 out of the zone here for Sparks. Here comes the next. Ball 3. Well, if you're the Gators, you're not going to help them out here. They got to try and throw strikes, and you keep the bat on the shoulder.
Oh, absolutely not. And if I'm Sparks, again, 3-0 count, bases loaded. You don't have anywhere to put her. And I mean, you don't want to read too much into it because sometimes, you know, the hitters get the green light, but at this point, you're just trying to throw strikes.
There is a strike. Flip the outer edge, 3-1. I think even you get the red light here if you're Pollard.
I would. Because again, Ole Miss pitching staff this game, really both pitching staff struggling to find that strike zone. May as well make them work for it.
Downstairs forces in another run, so Pollard walks. First at bat since late March, picks up an RBI as Wilkie comes across, and the Gators have 3 runs in the first and a 3-2 lead. Well, Ole Miss did come into this game last in the SEC in walks, and that is going to go up. They had 166 as a staff entering the day. Infield is still in with 1 out. Avery Gales takes a strike.
And that's where it's so hard as a pitcher too, because obviously you want to execute good pitches, and let's be honest, good pitchers' pitches are not strikes. So sometimes it's hard to find that balance, but whenever it comes to the walks, I mean, again, it's a free base. You can't defend walks, so it's not even giving your team a chance.
Last 4 appearances, last 3 appearances for Sparks, she had not given up a walk. Did have a 7-walk performance against Tennessee on March 11th. Pitched a couple of times in the A&M series for an inning and a third, allowed 4 earned runs on 4 hits. That was last weekend. Swing and a miss, comes back on 3 pitches to get Avery Gales for the 2nd out.
And that is a huge out there for Sparks. Again, you don't want the walk to walk in a run, but really a statement to come back and very quickly work ahead of Gales, and just look at the movement on that drop ball. That's a beautiful pitch on the inside corner.
First strikeout for Sparks since April 16th, so 4 appearances ago. Here's now Falvey. This is a big at bat because on deck, if you move the carousel again, you got Skylar Wallace on deck. Gators trying to bat around here in this first. After Delbray gave up 2 runs in the first with her issues of control. 1-1 now to Falvey.
And Falvey, you know, being in this 9-hole, she's a great person for that spot because, again, she does a lot of different things, really a triple threat, has the speed to be able to turn this lineup over. And then if you're the Rebels, it's like the last thing you want is to have a team bat around on you in the first inning of a game.
Late swing and miss from Falvey, so it looks like Sparks has settled in a little bit here. Ball and 2 strikes. Falvey's numbers this year, 391, is driven in 19, is settled now into a double leadoff position in the 9 spot. Swings away, chops one along third foul. Different lineup configuration for a 2nd consecutive day. We saw something similar in the Florida State game for the Gators in the midweek, where Falvey batting 9, you got Eccles in the 2 spot. Everybody kind of slides up 1. Well outside, count even.
Yeah, I like Falvey in the 9 spot, again, just because she has so many different tools. And the thing about being a leadoff batter is usually you're only guaranteed to be the leadoff for 1 inning, and that's the first inning. So
yep.
She comes up in a good spot, able to turn the whole lineup over.
Swings away, protects with 2 strikes. She's had a really good career so far, and is just getting started. In her sophomore season, has led the team in hits this year, has had the most multi-hit games of the group with 16. 4th in the league in hits.
And that's not even getting into her defensive plays that she's made.
2-2 roll back up the middle, sneaks through in a center base hit. Egan scores. Around third is Longley. She will score a 2-run base knock for Kendra Falvey. It's Florida 5, Ole Miss 2.
And again, Falvey with textbook softball, getting a drop ball, just driving it into the ground, goes back up the middle right under the glove of Kamoku, and able to score 2 runs here for the Gators.
Big 2-out swing with 2 strikes. It fouled off a couple of pitches, stay alive. And the Gators a 5-run first, so 7 total runs in this first inning. Do you have any afternoon plans, Sydney, today? Because I don't know if you're going to get to them.
I mean, you know, a Sunday nap would have been nice, but if I'm not going to do that, let's do softball.
Skylar Wallace takes a strike, going 1. And you get the sense, too, the way Florida has pitched it of late, that if you're Ole Miss, you're pretty confident you're not out of anything. A 3-run deficit can be wiped away pretty quick. Wallace back up the middle, snared by Sparks. The freshman gets the possible SEC Player of the Year for the final out of the inning. Gators 5 runs on 3 hits, do leave 2. A big separator on the bouncing ball from Kendra Falby. A 2-run single in the frame. 8-9-1 due up for the Rebels, trying to get back into it, now down 3. Gators a 5-run response after Ole Miss had taken a 2-run lead, 5 runs on 3 hits in that first inning. Both teams trying to find some answers right now inside the circle. Delbray will stay out there for the Gators after she faced 7 batters in the first. Looked like maybe a little bit towards the end of that final strikeout of Lexi Brady was building a little bit more confidence. We'll see here in the second if she does take a nice step.
Yeah, I really think that last strikeout of Brady, it seemed like she was picking up some steam. And you can see working ahead early on Stevenson, first pitch strike. So if Delbray gets in a rhythm, the Gators could be looking pretty good the rest of this game.
She had a good appearance against Auburn a few weeks back. They thought maybe she turned a corner. Her spin rates were up. That was a big part of her offseason surgery in that wrist area where the spin rates weren't quite what they were a season ago, but she went 6 2/3, didn't allow a hit, and had 8 strikeouts. Trying to get her back to that more consistently. Did have 4 walks in that appearance. But here already a good start was ahead 0-2 to Maya Stevenson, who's one of the great sluggers in college softball right now. Came off the bench as a pinch hitter yesterday. 71 career home runs. That's most of all active Division I softball players. Swings through, strike 3. So Delbray back-to-back Ks, bridging the last 2 innings.
Yeah, and Delbray, again, just a great job, a great pitch sequence. You can see this last pitch up and out of the zone, very spinny rise ball, and Stevenson, it was right in her eyes. I'm sure she just couldn't lay off of it and swings right through it.
Here's the star of the weekend, Brooke Bernard, and probably didn't think she would be the star, considering the amount of opportunities she had entering the series, but Jamie Traxel giving her the first chance to officially start on the lineup card. Native of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, had her first career triple yesterday, out to right field, cleared the bases. That was a 3-run triple in the 5th. Had her first career double, which brought in a run on Friday night. 6 of 14, so limited opportunities, and she has hits in almost half of her at-bats.
Yeah, and I think about, her being a Florida kid. You're going back to your home state, playing against a very good program in the Florida Gators. I mean, I feel like you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You want to do good, and I'm sure she has some more family members here that maybe haven't been able to make it out to Mississippi.
A 4-pitch walk to Bernard, so the good and the bad in this inning here for Lexi Delbray. Gets a strikeout of Stevenson, and then the next 4 out of the zone. Brings up Tate Whitley back to the top of the Rebel lineup. Again, what's on the line? A rubber game, so the winner of this one takes the series. Ole Miss is 1-3 in rubber games this year. The Gators 1-2 in series deciders.
And I just feel like, especially in this part of the season, every athlete wants to win, so every team wants to win. You want to build that confidence going into postseason. I think it's just that competitive drive, so I really think we're going to see a lot. I mean, we've already saw a lot in this first inning, but I don't think either of these teams is going to back down in this game. Like, it's going to be a full 7-inning fight.
Well, yesterday we saw such. Gators had 12 hits. It was the 20th time they had 10 or more hits in what was a 7-2 loss. But both offenses have been revved up. Led by Tate Whitley, who laid down an infield bunt hit and started the game in the first and started that rally where the Rebels sent 8 to the plate in the top half of the first. Slap flare, Wallace can't get there. Very comfortable day out. You mentioned the wind, and first couple days it was humid, muggy, but 74 degrees at first pitch. Feels nice outside today. The wind should die down as we go. Two and two. This could be as well the final game in this ballpark this year for the Gators if they don't host a regional. Had their senior day yesterday. Whitley slaps this to left center. Falby playing shallow has got it for out number 2. Big Al for Delbray brings in Savannah Sykes. Florida has pretty much cycled through 3 pitchers here in SEC play, whether it's been Hightower, Trilicek mainly, and then Delbray. That's going to be the remedy. If those 3 can make it click, the Gators with this lineup could make a run.
Yeah, they really could, and you know, it's all about getting hot at the right time. So that's why I feel like this series and even going into next weekend, 2 very important weekends, because it's that time where you're running out of time. So you want everything to be clicking and firing in all cylinders.
The Gators will head to Lexington next weekend. Ole Miss will have Alabama. Check swing roller, Eccles to her left, goes the short way for the final out. Momentum was taking her that way, gets the lead runner for out number 3. In the frame, no runs, no hits, no errors, and a 1 left. We are middle of 2, Gators in the driver's seat. The race to Alberta, I think that's for a gift card to Domino's. I'd run pretty quick for a gift card to Domino's. I don't know about you, Sydney.
Oh, absolutely. Pizza's my favorite food.
Yeah.
So
I'd kick it into another gear.
is that a challenge?
Grace Sparks, the freshman, goes back to work. She came in relief in the first, was able to try to limit the damage. I mean, it could have been worse than the 5 runs they gave up in that inning. Did give up a 2-run single to Kendra Falby and bases loaded walk. Right now still a 3-run cushion for the Gators as they batted around, sent 10 to the plate in that first. And it will be Eccles, Walsh, and Wilkie. Another shift here for Eccles, wrapped around to the right in the outfield. 3 infielders on the right side, swings away and just bullets one through that shift. Just take that to the shift.
Yeah, I feel like Eccles really played into the shift because, I mean, she did pull the ball. It was an inside pitch from Sparks, so a great job by Sparks on executing. But Eccles just got a hold of it, said, okay, you want to play the shift? Play this.
Hit it right through the shift between Kamoku and Smith. And here's now Reagan Walsh. So Eccles has been on twice. Here's Walsh, who singled her first time. Now 3 infielders on the left side. And this is the first time, we said this on Friday, the Gators have been shifted this drastically from hitter to hitter, 1 through 9 in the order.
And again, this is more of a personal problem. I'm sure the Ole Miss pitchers take very well to it. Again, they've prepared for it. But as a pitcher, I feel like that just puts a little bit of extra pressure on as far as you have to make sure you hit your spots.
Got to hit location. Walsh rolls one to third. There's one on to first. 5-4-3. Sykes, Kamoku, Smith. That equals 2.
And Sykes with really a golden glove over there on third base. That was a very hard hit ball. You can see it right here. Wonder if that was more of a reaction or if she actually saw the ball, but either way was able to make it work and throw it into a double play.
That's the 18th opponent ground ball double play that the Rebels have turned. Sykes, former Georgia Bulldog from the state of Georgia. Sykes won a super here in 2021. Ball 1 to Emily Wilkie. She walked her first time. See the numbers for Wilkie at her 6th home run yesterday, and has taken advantage of getting in the lineup every single day. During this stretch where she's had 4 straight starts, she's 4 of 10 with 2 home runs, 2 RBI, and 2 runs scored. Rolled over, Sykes again. Nice play from the native of Georgia, playing out the string of her collegiate eligibility in Oxford. Gators no runs, no hits, go down in order with their 1 hit in the frame, and no runs, 5-2 Gators. What's ahead in the final weekend of SEC play for the Ole Miss Rebels? Well, that is Sydney Littlejohn Watkins' former team, the Alabama Crimson Tide. 3 games in May to round it out before the SEC tournament. What do you think about Alabama this year, kind of how their season has gone? Still have Fouts. Do they have enough firepower to make a run this year, Patrick Murphy?
You know, I really think they are kind of in a similar situation to Florida. I know we've mentioned it a little bit back and forth, but it's a little bit different, you know, just how the lineups are. But, I mean, I feel like you have any chance to win if you have a pitcher like Montana Fouts in the circle. But kind of along with both teams, it comes down to situational hitting, who's going to get the clutch hit and who's going to limit the free passes.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see come Selection Sunday how the Gators and the Tide are treated. If one or both wind up being a regional host. Alabama has a long streak, don't they, regional hosting? They've hosted almost every year.
I was going to say, I'll be honest, and this may just be.
As this one's rolled back to Delbray, late to get it out of her glove, but does get Paige Smith for the first out.
I feel like that was the most slow developing play that I've seen. Oh, what a great job by Delbray to hold on, because that ball was spinning, and so those can be a little hard to judge once they come in your glove to get the grip. The good old swinging bunt. But she's able to get it out of her glove, so great job there by Delbray. Sometimes the swinging bunts really catch you off guard.
They do, yeah. Kamoku powers one to center. Even with the wind whipping out towards center field, stays in the ballpark in front of that 220 marker for Kendra Falby. So 1 pitch for the second out.
And I don't want to be too early on saying it, but it seems like Delbray is kind of settling into a groove here, especially, you know, last inning into this inning, working a little bit more quickly, trying to get ahead of these Ole Miss hitters.
I can hear the Gator fans at home right now. Sydney jinxed it. She jinxed it.
Hey, I'm always team pitcher, so I never want to jinx anything.
Kayla Alley stands in. And how about the 1-2-3 inning on the flip side for Grace Sparks? It turned out to face the minimum after giving up the hit at the 5-4-3 double play. So pitching all of a sudden has taken front and center after what was a 7-run first between the two.
As it should. You know, the hitters have had enough this game.
Yeah,
it's time for the pitchers to
enough
rise up.
Offense. Two balls, no strikes to Michaela Alley. Walked on 5 pitches. And Delbray was trying to find it in that first.
And, you know, going back to that Ole Miss series next weekend against Alabama, that was actually the last SEC series for me my senior year.
Was it really?
Finished out at Ole Miss.
Was it in Tuscaloosa? Or
no,
in
it was in Oxford.
Okay.
Did not end well for the Crimson Tide, so I'm sure Coach Traxel would like that to happen again.
It would be a nice resume boost for them. They have plenty of opportunities left here in the next 4 games, plus the SEC tournament to ensure their bid. Projections have them as a 2 seed right now in Norman, Oklahoma. Lifted in the air to left field. Gales ranging back to the warning track on a back pedal has got it. Dug out, but Alley didn't have enough to get that one up and out. So Delbray, like Sydney mentioned, knock on wood if you're a Gator fan, has found a groove 1, 2, 3 in that third. Upcoming schedule for the Florida Gators. They will have that Sunshine Showdown to start the week on Wednesday. You can watch that on ESPNU. Florida State, then 3 games at Kentucky to round out the regular season for the SEC tournament in Fayetteville, Arkansas. That should be a really good crowd, weather permitting. Hopefully it's a nice day on that Wednesday, but that's usually a top 10, maybe a top 5 crowd. That should be here at KDC Show Presley Stadium. They had a record crowd the other day at Joanne Graff Field in Tallahassee. I think it was the 3rd largest crowd in Florida State history on Wednesday, over 1,800 fans there. That ballpark, as Lonnie Alameda has created a consistent contender, a champion, have a brand new video board out there, new suite seats. So it's a lot more comfortable of a viewing experience at Florida State now. So what happens when you win championships? The investment grows.
I know they got that parking garage out there too that everybody can kind of hang out in,
true.
and so.
I don't know if they add that to the attendance though. But they had fans on every single floor of the parking deck watching the game over left field. And that's the perfect seat too, because you don't have to sit in traffic. You're right by your car, right? So you get in the car and go after the game.
Right, absolutely. And you can bring your own snacks. You know, I'm a big snacker for the game, so that's what I look forward to. It's like, okay, what kind of snacks can I bring?
Egan takes inside. You bring any snacks today? I see something over there.
Oh, absolutely. I've got about 4 different options over here. I've got some chicken jerky, some apple straws, all the fun things.
Apple straws? I don't think I've ever heard of apple straws. Check swing foul. You have a favorite concession food, by the way?
Ooh, I do love some good nachos with jalapenos, but
that would not be my go-to.
I don't think you can beat a good hot dog or a corn dog with some mustard.
No ice cream in a helmet?
I'm very particular about my ice cream. I add a lot to it, so you know I want all the toppings.
All right, we can make that happen. You see a popcorn machine in the back. How about some popcorn?
Oh, I do love popcorn.
Yeah.
I do love some popcorn.
That's a great choice.
Especially good Pepsi with it too. May have to get one on Wednesday coming out to that rivalry game.
3-2, bounce back up the middle. Alley to her left, can't glove it on the move. Would have been a really tough play. Could be a hit here for Pal Egan. And it is the Gators' 5th hit of the game. And a multi-hit day already for Pal Egan. 2nd consecutive day for Pal with 2 hits.
And again, Pal not doing too much, and Allie almost had that, but I agree with you, Kyle. It would have been a really tough play to make. You can sense her frustration. She really wanted to give it a shot.
Egan's 4 of her last 6 in this series. And the RBI knock with the bases loaded. And here's Sarah Longley, who drew a bases loaded walk her first time. Now 21 RBI, it's a career high for her. The power numbers are both career highs. Those 5 home runs, 21 RBI. Making that transition to catcher this year. That hit Longley. Egan was off at the pitch. Won't matter anyway, so the Gators now have 1st and 2nd, nobody out. And Kayla Pollard will get her 2nd plate appearance since coming back from injury here.
You can see that ball just clipped right at her back knee. Sure, that felt lovely.
When you're a catcher like Sarah Longley, I don't think you feel most of those things anymore. The beating you take behind the plate. Catchers are tough, different kind of tough.
That's exactly why I was not built to be a catcher. I will stick to my circle.
Did the first 2 games with Alicia Ocasio. She said at one point she wanted to be a catcher. My first question to her was, why? Why would you want to do that to yourself? You could do everything well. Play infield, outfield, pitch.
You know, I went through that phase too. I will admit it was in machine pitch, and I was all fine with it until the batter got in the box and started swinging. Then I was like, I can't see anything. I don't like this. So hats off to all the catchers. I mean, I always try to tell my catchers how much I appreciate them.
2-0. 3 balls, no strikes. Want to get your opinion on this. So Grace Sparks and most of the pitchers this weekend for Ole Miss, they call their own pitches to the catcher. I'm not sure if they're getting it from the dugout. I think the battery calls their own game, but Grace Sparks will give the sign to the catcher. It's much different.
Yeah, you know, I think obviously that does come along with the wristband, and I actually graduated the year before Alabama transitioned to the wristband. But, you know, there's times where it would have been nice, because I have, you know, you walk to the back of the circle, you're thinking about the next pitch you're going to execute, and sometimes the numbers that the catcher throws down, it's not the one that you wanted
Right.
and not the one that you feel 100% with. So it would be nice to have a way to transition it. You know, for me, I didn't have many pitches, so sometimes it was like, okay, if I whip my hair to this side of my body, then that means I'm throwing this pitch. But so it would have been a little bit nicer to have those numbers. But, you know, I think pitchers have done it in the past. It's just, it's a more obvious way. But since there's those wristbands, you know, you can't really pick it. So
Yeah, it's
more power to them.
First time I've seen the pitcher put out the numbers.
Yeah, I think if you ask any pitcher, they usually, you know, you walk to the back of the circle, you have a pitch in your mind, not necessarily that you're wanting to throw, but like, oh, okay, I could throw this here. You know, you have something that's going on, and then, you know, usually if the pitch that the pitching coach calls is something along those lines, you know, you can go with it. Sometimes it's that exact pitch, or sometimes it's the pitch that you do not want to throw. And that's the case where it would be nice to be able to switch it up without having to waste a timeout, without having to stall the game very much.
Meanwhile, the Gators will have a pinch runner. Sydney Katie Kistler is going to run at first base. So a 5-pitch walk here, and that has been the issue. No matter who's been in the circle, whether it's been McKenna Cleathermos or Grace Sparks, it's been free passes. Already 5 walks and a hit by pitch. So they've given away 6 free passes between 2 pitchers, and I think we're going to see another pitcher come in here. Bases loaded. So another pitcher that inherits a bases loaded jam here. Second time the Gators have had him loaded in this game, and we will have a new pitcher. Caitlin Riley, the star of yesterday, will come in. Gators trying to add on to a 5-2 lead. Still nobody out. Come on back to KSP. Nobody out, bases loaded. So why not go to the winning pitcher of record yesterday, Caitlin Riley. Sydney will step in a very tough situation.
Yeah, and the Gators have already seen it. You know, Caitlin Riley has a heavy drop ball, has a really floaty rise, will mix in a curve and an off speed, but she really will jam hitters too. And I think that's what Ole Miss is looking for in this situation, just getting some ground balls, you know, working ahead of the hitters in any way possible, doing whatever they can to just get some outs.
Riley's numbers yesterday, we went through them, was able to get the win in 6 1/3, did allow 11 hits, a run which was earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Through season high 132 pitches. Second pitcher that inherits a bases loaded jam. Through 3 trips here for the Gators as Avery Gels takes a strike. Gels struck out her first time. So it was Cleathermos who got the start, lasted just 1/3 of an inning. 5 earned runs to her ledger on 2 hits and 3 walks to no strikeouts. Sparks all 3 runners her responsibility on base. 0-2.
You see Riley just going right at the Gator hitters. Really like that last pitch too, just really working inside on Avery Gels, getting her to have to hit it out in front. One of those maybe hit or be hit situations.
Gels this year 417 with the bases loaded. 2-strike pitch, whacked on a line, left field. This should possibly bring in 2. 1 scores. Around third is Longley. She will score. Avery Gels comes through with a 2-run single, and it's 7-2 Florida.
And a great job there by Avery Gels. Takes an 0-2 pitch that's just left too much in the zone by Riley and makes her pay for it. Scoring 2 runs for the Gators with that shot to left center field.
And Gels Had a double yesterday. He's starting to see it a lot better. In that 8th spot, right ahead of Kendra Falby. Still nobody out in this inning. So 12th hit given up with this series for Caitlin Riley. And this was the score that we saw last night as a final in favor of Ole Miss, 7-2. Gators 7 runs on 6 hits. Ole Miss 2 runs on a hit. Gators have only won one Game 3 of an SEC series this year.
And if you're the Gators, I think you're feeling pretty good in this situation just because you did get a lot of hits off of Riley yesterday. You know, didn't have the end result that you wanted, but overall seeing the ball fairly well. So if you're able to keep that going, I think maybe some more runs will scratch through today than they did yesterday.
Falby had a 2-run single her last time. Big swing with 2 outs. And had completed that first inning rally of 5 runs. Now 21 RBI on the year. It's a chance here with first and second. 1-2. Borderline pitch, count even.
And see, that's a pitch, you know, me being team pitcher, that's probably one that I would have wanted. I mean, it's close, and especially, you know, the situation. Riley's doing a great job getting ahead of the Gator hitters, but just got to finish the at-bat, and sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. And I can imagine Riley, too, in this situation, wanting to get Kendra Falby so that way you don't have bases loaded, no outs with Skylar Wallace up to bat.
And Wallace looms on deck. The offering. Falby, did she go around? Appeal. Oh no, I think James Colsey will make the call himself. And it looks like Falby did go around, so we'll bring in Wallace here. Just the first out of the inning.
And I have to agree with the umpire here. Falby, yeah, it looks like her hands technically didn't break, but whenever you come around that far.
So second strikeout for Ole Miss pitching, first for Riley here. Top of the lineup, Wallace is 0 for 2. Breaking news. Have to break into CNN. That kind of news. Hitless in her first 2 at-bats. The number is just absurd. Career high 16 home runs, 455. Entered the day. I mean, we're in late April. She's hitting over 500 in SEC play.
It's just absurd. And, you know, with her being so far over for the day, I feel like as a pitcher, you're either thinking, okay, like we've got her number, or on the other side of that, you're like, oh, she's closer to being due.
On pace for one of the best seasons in Florida history. Take strike one. There's some of the records for batting average, on base, slugging. She already broke the stolen base record last year here at Florida by 16. Total bases, all those are in jeopardy. Wallace uppercuts this right side of the infield. Kamoku has it for the out. So Wallace has been retired first 3 trips to the plate.
And a great job there by Caitlin Riley. Again, being known for being able to come in and jam up the lefties, and she's done that to Falby, and she's also done that to Skylar Wallace.
Well, here's now Eccles, been on twice, singled, and walked. Pulled the string, did Riley. A home run hack from Eccles. Gators 3 hits with runners in scoring position right now. They have 2 2-out RBI. That came off the bat of Kendra Falby. And with runners on, you don't see that extreme shift on the infield. Foul ball.
You can see Riley again going in on the left-handed batter in Eccles. And Charlotte Eccles is definitely known to be more of a pull hitter. Obviously, she hits the outside pitch well. She really hits everything, but seems to favor that inside corner a little bit more. So if Riley goes in, she's really got to get in the kitchen of Charlotte Eccles.
That's in the kitchen again.
I would like to see Riley, especially, you know, the last two pitches have really been hardened in. I'd like to see that changeup again that she threw the very first pitch, maybe a little bit lower in the zone. So that way if Charlotte Eccles swings again, it can be over the top of it.
That changeup, that's what was really effective yesterday. This one misses low.
And even though that pitch was low, I do feel like that was a really good pitch for an 0-2 pitch. I mean, you don't want to have anything too close.
And this is what makes Charlotte Eccles such a professional hitter. Her approach with 2 strikes, toughest to strike out in the SEC, and 100 and now 45, make it 44 at bats. That's what Coach Walton always says when he talks about Charlotte Eccles, how much of a pro she is, and she will be a pro. She was drafted 14th in the brand new Women's Pro Fast Pitch League by the Texas Smoke. Two-two with 2 outs. Ball 3. Walsh is on deck. The Gators load him up again.
And you can start to hear the fans here in Katie C. Scholl Presley Stadium starting to get loud. They really want to break this thing open.
Gators are ready, 6 hits. Roll through the left side. That's through for a hit. Kistler around third. The throw comes in. That's wide. Kistler scores. And Charlotte Eccles RBI 57 on the year. And the Gators now lead 8-2.
Again, we were just talking about how much Charlotte Eccles likes that inside pitch, but gets one that's up and away and just goes with it, hits it right past the infield of Ole Miss, able to score a run for the Gators.
Team best, 17th multi-hit game. Coach Walton had the pinch runner in Kistler, who has speed, able to score. The Gators now have their 3rd 2-out RBI and an 8-2 lead on their 7th hit. And here is Reagan Walsh. Nice response so far from yesterday, where the Gators left 12 on base. That'll be a big part of the conversation post-game for the Gators. Walsh back up the middle, fights it off into center. Gales around third. Here comes the throw. It's late. Back-to-back run-producing hits from 2 and 3 in this order, and it's Walsh who comes through again. A multi-hit day, plates the Gators' 9th run.
Reagan Walsh just having a heck of a series, gets a pitch that's up in the zone, drives it right back up the middle.
Just seeing it really well right now. And this is, again, where the Gators had struggled yesterday, leaving essentially a small army on base, 12 left.
And you know, obviously I've never played for the Gators, but I have played against the Gators so many times to know that from day to day, they're usually not going to make the same mistake twice, whether that's leaving runners on base, whether it's a pitching adjustment. Usually you don't get that mistake for the 2nd day in a row. Usually they make those changes, and I think that's part of the reason why they've been such a great program for so many years.
And you see the potential of this offense and how good it can be. And can the pitching kind of match what Florida can do at the plate. That is a big question mark for them. And yesterday, 12 hits in the loss. They're able to come from 3 runs down in the 7th. They're actually out hit by Ole Miss on Friday night. There's Wilkie. Takes the 1-0 outside.
It's one thing you got to love about softball, right? Just because you get the most hits doesn't exactly mean that you're going to win.
That's been the case in the first 2 of this series. The Gators right now out hitting Ole Miss by 7, 8-1. And another run here would essentially put this game in run rule territory. Now you'd have to get through the 5th. So the Rebels would still have 2 more turns at it. Wilkie topples that off the glove of Sykes. Eccles wheels around third late. Off balance throw is not there. Down to third goes Walsh. Another run comes in, and now it is an 8-run Florida lead. It's 10-2.
And at the beginning of that play, I thought it was about to be a really cool, deflect off third base into the glove of Allie, but ends up tipping off of the glove, hit just hard enough. And because it eventually tips off the glove of Allie, Charlotte Eccles reads it, and Coach Walton waving her on, able to score all the way from second.
Officially goes down as an RBI single for Wilkie. And an RBI. Now first and third. 5 runs in the first, 5 runs in the third. Have given the Gators 10 runs on 9 hits. Egan swings away, pummels one past the glove of Kamoku into right. Walsh scores. Gators get another. We'll see how they score that. Don't think it touched the glove of the second baseman. It's now 11-2. See if Egan possibly gets credited with her second RBI.
And see, I know that, there's rules whenever it comes down to scoring an error and all those things, whether that touches the glove or not, but I feel like Kamoku just had a little bit of a misjudgment on that ball. Should have been something that was a little bit more of a routine play, but unable to come up with it.
Will be a 3-hit day. Officially an RBI single for Pal Egan. What an inning. Gators have batted around twice. This is the 11th batter to the plate in the third.
I'm wondering if at some point we'll see Lexi Delbray go out to the bullpen just to, or maybe she's already out there. I mean,
and she was actually before, about like 5 minutes ago, she ran in from the bullpen, so she might have to go back again. Bouncer Allie knocks it down. Throw to first is late. Base is loaded. This is one of those innings you want to forget if you're Ole Miss. That should be an E6.
And this is where my pitcher heart goes out to Caitlin Riley. She's really making some great pitches and very playable ground ball outs, or what should be ground ball outs. But Allie looks like maybe she was just trying to be too quick with it, unable to come up with it and being able to finish the play, and our inning continues.
Will be an E6. It is the first error of the day for Ole Miss. This is the 21st time this year the Gators have had 10 or more hits, and they're looking for their 18th run rule victory. And one thing, you were on the call when we talked to Coach Traxel. They wanted to limit those self-inflicted wounds. That was the big point of emphasis coming into this series, and there's one right there. For Ole Miss, on Friday night, they had a single fielding error. That's their second error of the series, but it was, how do we get off the field with 2 outs? How do we eliminate those mistakes?
Right, especially, I feel like both of these teams may have struggled in some of those areas, but especially if you're Ole Miss, fighting for the postseason spot, it really does come down to all of those small things, because they add up to be big things.
Here's Kistler, we get a turn at it. She actually started this inning as a pinch runner. Came around to score and now will hit. Bases are loaded.
And again, just going back to the pitcher's mindset, sometimes it can be really hard as a pitcher in these situations because, again, you're making those good pitches, but super important for Riley at this moment to just to continue to control what she can control, keep getting those ground balls because her defense is going to back her up. You know, it's just about getting those ground balls, getting those pop-ups, and just continuing to do so because, again, the coaches see it and everybody knows that you're making those good pitches.
2-2 to Kistler. The pitching for Ole Miss kind of put them behind right away. Clee Thermos just a third of an inning, 5 earned runs, 3 walks. Grace Sparks, 3 earned runs in an inning and 2/3. Kistler flies this to right. Bernard goes back. This should do it. And a merciful end for Ole Miss to a 6-run third inning. In that frame for the Gators, 6 runs on 6 hits, an error, and 3 left, and a standing O from Gator Nation, up 11-2 through 3. I think maybe the Gators took that loss yesterday personally. 11 runs on 10 hits, 5-run first, 6-run third after Ole Miss came out of the gates pretty hot. Delbray had issues finding the strike zone. Ole Miss had a quick 2, so they found an early lead. And then since, Sydney, it's been 11 unanswered for the Gators.
Yeah, and you know, if you're Coach Walton, that's exactly what you want to see from your team, especially getting ready for postseason, is that, you know, again, you do take it personal. There's that killer instinct of, hey, you know what, that happened, it sucked, and it's not going to happen again.
How about Delbray and how she's improved as the start has gone along? You know, that first saw 7 batters, but had a 1-2-3 third inning. Good sign for her.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how she does this inning. Again, already getting ahead of the Ole Miss hitters, but sometimes it can be hard to come back from that long of a break, and obviously you don't want to stop your defense, but it can get you out of your rhythm.
Lassiter parachutes one to left. Kistler now in the game and left makes the catch. Defensively, that is the lone change. Well, Gales will move to right. Actually, Pal Egan will come out, so that's the domino effect of all of that. So a new left fielder and a new right fielder for the Gators. And there's Gales out and right. She's played all 3 outfield spots and was the everyday first baseman. Lexi Brady takes strike 1.
And we love a player that can be versatile and play all of the positions.
See it more and more now. Pretty prevalent in the sport. Peel down to first. Brady did not go, says Emrys Addison.
Just one more thing on Avery Gales. I just have to say that that video that was posted where she was talking about her sister Kinsey.
Shout out too, it is Kinsey Gales' birthday today. Happy birthday, Kinsey.
Yes, happy birthday, Kinsey.
She pet sit your dogs one night, right?
Yes, and she treated them with such great care. So obviously anybody who is a friend of my dogs is a friend of mine. I'm going to say she was my friend first before she was a friend of my dog. But has a special place in my heart since my dogs do love her so much.
Here's Kinsey. Always has that smile. Check swing roller, stays fair right to Wilkie on the bat for the out 3 and assisted.
Yeah, that play, I thought that ball was going to end up going foul, but looking by the spin, it looked like it would have stayed fair.
Yeah, it went right into her lap as she was standing on the bag. I think we're going to have a pinch hitter here. Jamie Traxel goes to the lineup card. We'll see if maybe, considering how the game has gone, if maybe Kinsey Gales gets a birthday at bat today on her senior weekend. Got the start yesterday. So we'll be on the lookout for that.
And she had some good at-bats yesterday, too. Had a couple hard hits. Unfortunately, didn't fall her way, but definitely hit the ball hard.
Ansley Furbush will be the pinch hitter. She got the start yesterday, also pitched and hitting for Maya Stevenson in the 8th spot.
Wonder if that means we could see her come into the pitching circle in one of these next couple of innings.
Quite possibly. Already 3 pitchers so far for the Rebels. It's a different pitcher right now in Delbray. Now, granted, you know, when you have a 9-run lead, it changes things. But even prior to that, prior to a 6-run third, she looked a lot better as well. Jam job pop-up. Wallace has got it. So for Delbray, back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings. Gators up 11-2, home 4th on the other side. Got some young fans at the ballpark, maybe future Gators, future Rebels, maybe even future Tide. Got a Alabama great sitting to my right, Sydney Littlejohn Watkins. Final home game for the Gators of the regular season. Is this the final game in this ballpark of the season? We won't know until Selection Sunday. Exciting time of year. Soon we will have the mayhem of May. Are there 31 days in April? Sydney, you can probably answer that.
Let me
right?
do the trick.
No,
with the
there's only
knuckles.
30. So tomorrow May begins.
I'm excited to see what type of month it will be and what will transpire in the softball world, because I feel like, you know, there are some for sure's because you have the Oklahomas of the world and things of that nature, but I know we say it every year, but I really do feel like it gets better and better every year whenever it comes down to it's anybody's game and it's about who gets hot at the right time.
Gels lofts this to left, right to Tate Whitley for the first out. Some check around the SEC scoreboard. You have Alabama in a rubber game against LSU, tied up 2-0 on the Tigers in the bottom of the 4th. Kentucky, Florida's future opponent, is tied with Mississippi State. Tennessee and Arkansas, good series. Tennessee won yesterday behind Ashley Rogers. Arkansas an early 2-0 lead in the 3rd. South Carolina much improved this year. They have Auburn at home and then A&M hosting Missouri. Those games will be a little bit later today.
Yeah.
Alabama and LSU both 11 wins in the SEC, so that could be a separator in the standings for sure. Bounce to the hole, it's short, and under the glove of Alley could be an error, but with the speed of Falby, you don't know how they could score that. It will be a hit, 11th hit.
Yeah, and you see this ball hit by Falby. Looks like it takes one of those super quick hops where it's a high hop, then you expect it to be another high hop, and it was not. So it did not play out in favor of Alley at shortstop. It plays in favor of Falby.
Here's Skylar Wallace. Wallace looking for her first hit. Runner takes off, throw down, Falby is out. I think Coach Walton is going to want to look at this. He had a good view of it at third. Obviously, probably inconsequential considering the score, but your player wants that stolen base, and if you're Walton, you're going to challenge that. That's going to be very close.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like the umpire, again, obviously wasn't necessarily in a bad position, but since second base covered that, kind of put it where it was, everything was happening in front of it, so hard for him to see. So I don't blame anybody for the review here.
Yeah, you know your players at this point in the game, they do want their numbers and their stats, and for Falby, that would be a 24th stolen base, and if you think it's pretty close in your eye, why not use that challenge if you're Coach Walton? One of the all-time greats in that dugout. Take another look here. Sydney, what do you think? I think the tag probably got there just in time.
You know, I'm really bad at this, because, you know, part of me thinks maybe her foot got in there just a little bit, but also whenever it happens so synonymously like that, I feel like there's not enough to overturn it.
Well, it has to be conclusive to overturn it, and the call on the field was out, so it has to be pretty clear. Coach Walton, two-time national champ. And they do say out. So the glove was on that right leg. So it'll be a second out. Caught stealing.
And you know, I wonder if on those again, if it could it be completely conclusive, because that was such a bang bang play. Very, very hard to really decide, but.
Well, Jamie Traxel sitting talking to shortstop Michaela Alley. Here with 2 outs in the inning. Wallace just waiting around saying, hey guys, I just don't want to hit.
Yeah, not 100% sure what that conversation could be about. Again, Allie had that mishap at the beginning of the inning, maybe just checking on that, seeing how it's going, but the Gator faithful were not very happy about that meeting. They want this game to get moving. And I feel like if I was a coach, sometimes I would just hold it as long as I could if I felt people were trying to rush me, but that's just me.
Wallace has reached in all but 1 game this year. She's 0 for 3, has not reached yet. There you see the shift that has been employed all weekend long.
And you know, to somebody who maybe isn't as familiar with softball, it looks like it would be so easy just to put a ball over there down the third base line. But again, it all comes to plan, and I'm actually surprised to see that outside pitch there by Riley, because you would think with the shift that they're going to be throwing everything inside since everybody's playing down the right side of the field.
And even the left fielder Whitley well off the line. And they threw it there again. I don't think they're necessarily trying to pitch around her at this point in a 9-run game.
Yeah, especially with nobody on base.
That one was over the heart of the plate, popped up. This is danger, will be a hit. So Wallace does get a hit. Will be 1 for 4. And that shift works against Ole Miss, so it goes the other way. Sykes, the third baseman, all alone out there, couldn't make a catch.
And you know, I think Skylar Wallace, I don't know if she planned this, but hit that ball high enough to go above the grandstand. I think really where that wind caught it, and it was able to kind of blow back foul, because you could see that Sykes had trouble judging it.
That's almost impossible considering the wind. She's going back on it, would have to make a catch over the shoulder. I mean, that would have been an impossible catch for Sykes. 12th Gator hit. Eccles, she's been doing this all day on that inside pitch, just gripping and ripping.
And that's where, again, Riley doing a great job of making sure whenever that inside pitch is called, she is getting it in on the hands of Charlotte Eccles, because if she leaves it any part on that plate, I feel like that ball is going to be tattooed.
Multi-hit day for Charlotte, an RBI single in the 3rd. Little pitch out, check on Wallace. 17th multi-hit game, most on the team for Charlotte. 57 RBI now. For Charlotte, that's 2 off her career high. Laser out to right center. That'll split the alleyway, go to the wall. Wallace, a speedster around 3rd, throw to 2nd. It's bobbled. RBI double for Charlotte Eccles as Wallace scores from 1st. RBI 58 on the year for Charlotte. A 2-ribby day, and the Gators add 1 more.
And Charlotte Eccles, again, just doing Charlotte Eccles things, taking a pitch right into right center field. And I thought what was interesting and developed on this play is you know, Skylar Wallace with her speed, we knew that she was going to be coming around third to at least attempt to score, but then Charlotte Eccles taking second, and what looked that she would be thrown out, but somehow works her way around the tag, able to be safe there in second base.
Yeah, Michaela Alley dropped that throw at second base, almost had the out. We will have a pitching change here with 2 outs in the inning. Eccles, her 13th double of the year, 14th multi-RBI game. That is a team best as well. Eccles continues to have an outstanding year. Brooke Vestall, we'll see her for the first time since Friday. Gators up 10 runs. Come on back after this. Brooke Vestall, we saw her on Friday. Senior right-hander, transfer from Oklahoma. Will be the 4th pitcher of the day here for Ole Miss as they try to get this final out in the 4th inning.
And Brooke Vestall, again, she throws usually in the mid-60s, had a really good game on Friday, just couldn't finish it off and shut the door, but relies a lot on her off-speed curve, so may see a little bit of a mix of speeds here for the Gators.
Meanwhile, pinch runner at second, Christina Wellen will pinch run for Eccles. Another crack at it here for Reagan Walsh. This was the matchup that ended the night on Friday. Runner takes off. Wellen has a stolen base, steals third. Not often do you see a runner get a clean steal of third base.
Yeah, you really don't see that a lot. I really don't think anybody was expecting it. I mean, I know I wasn't expecting it to come at that time, but hats off to Wellen.
Walsh smokes one to left center, leaping catch. It's Lassiter, takes away an extra base hit and an RBI for Reagan Walsh. A sparkling end to the inning for Ole Miss. Well, on the other side, they're down to their final 3 outs. Gators in run rule territory, getting set to take the series. Touched on it a little bit before, but busy day on this Sunday. An ultimate weekend of the SEC. Alabama up 2-0 rubber game against LSU. Kentucky, Mississippi State tied early in that one. Tennessee, Arkansas, Razorbacks trying to tie up that series. A couple more games coming up later today. Gators in firm command of this one, up 12-2. Rebels down to their final 3 outs. And if they can't get this inside an 8-run deficit here, Gators would be another run rule victory on the year. They've had plenty in the non-conference. This would be their 18th run rule victory of the season if they can hold on. And don't look now, but Delbray is 3 outs away from a complete game 1-hitter.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, I feel like if Delbray can work out of this inning, you know, pretty, you know, unscathed, then this would be a really good confidence booster for her. And we see Hightower out in the bullpen. You know, she could just be throwing a bullpen, working on pitches and things like that. But I wonder if Coach Walton has a little bit of a shorter lease because he wants this run rule victory again going into postseason. This could be a big deal for the Gators.
2 balls and a strike. Brooke Bernard leads it off. 9-1-2 here for Ole Miss. But it just shows, I think, a lot of it for Lexi right now, and some of it physical, but I think most of it right now is mental in throwing strikes, hitting batters. Because when she's in the zone, well, she's only given up 1 hit.
Right.
So,
and, you know, she is a spinny pitcher, has some speed to it too. That's not saying that she, you know, doesn't throw hard. But since she has so much spin, you know, it takes a lot to really trust your spin and trust your break.
another strikeout for Delbray. That is her 4th. She has faced the minimum in the last 2 innings. Going back to the second, she's retired now 8 straight.
And that rise ball is just such a beautiful pitch. I love watching it. And again, when talking about the spin, it does take a lot to trust your stuff, to be able to throw it through the zone and through the strike zone and trust that it's going to move enough to not get hit. Because we were talking about it earlier. These hitters are so good, so you don't want to throw anything in the zone where they can really get a hold of it.
Here's Tate Whitley. With a win, Gators would get to 1 game below 500 in the SEC to 10-11. Ole Miss would fall to 7-14 entering the final weekend.
I think that just speaks to how hard the SEC is. And I know that's around other conferences too, but obviously I played in the SEC, so I'm a little biased towards the SEC. But, you know, you'd never think that you're fighting to go 500 and still being potentially a top 16 seed in the country.
A lot to still be decided in the next couple weeks. Big one for the Gators coming up, like we pointed out Wednesday. It's a top 5 Florida State group as Whitley walks. Second time on base today. Gators have thrown this year 5 one-hitters. Delbray has thrown 2 complete game one-hitters this year against Stetson and UAB. Actually had given up her lone hit against Stetson. She was an out away from a no-hitter, gave up a home run on the final out. As pitching coach Mike Bosch will come out maybe to settle down Lexi here. Again, the one issue for her has been consistent strikes, and when she has been good. That walk ending a stretch of 8 consecutive batters retired.
And like you said, Kyle, I think he's just touching base with her again, probably reminding her, hey, we do have a 10-run lead. All we need is 2 more outs. So what can you do? If you have to throw it in the zone, let them get themselves out. But again, just go right at the hitters, because what do you have to lose?
You have that luxury to just try and challenge him here. Top of the lineup, it's Sykes. One of the veteran pieces here for Ole Miss. This will be pitch number 80.
You know, I feel like that's actually a pretty normal pitch count, or even on the lower side, but you wouldn't think that she's only at 80 pitches with how that first inning went, but that just shows how effective she's been the past few innings.
Things certainly evened out in the last couple innings. 3-1 count here to Sykes. Gators a 5-run first, 6-run third, run in the fourth, 34 first inning pitches. Ball 4 through 50 in the first 2 innings. And now back-to-back walks here.
I know for me, I always had this inner competition with myself each inning. I wanted to try and get out of each inning with less than 10 pitches. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's hard to do, but if I was less than 10 pitches per inning, then we were having a fabulous game.
Yes, a very quick game, too.
Yes.
Brings in Paige Smith. Had a really good weekend. Her numbers in SEC play are very good. She has 9 home runs, 2 of them this weekend, 8 home runs in SEC play. Yesterday delivered the backbreaker. The 7th, a 3-run home run that was a no-doubter shot. Has homered in 3 straight games. Ahead in the count, 2-1. Now has 3 home runs against the Gators in the last 2 years. Homered last year. Tied her home run total from last season at 9 homers, 40 RBI last year. Whacked in the air to center. Falby goes back. She's got it. Gators are 1 out away. Both runners retreat. And it will come down to Kayla Kumoku. Gators trying to close out the series here on this Sunday.
And again, a big out there for Delbray with the 2 walks, and then showing that she's able to trust her defense. Again, let the Ole Miss hitters get themselves out. whenever you have this big of a lead. Don't worry about, the pitch count and all of those other things that could factor into it. I'm sure that's what Coach Bosch was talking to her about. But then again, if you're on the Ole Miss side of things, you're like, hey, we got to make her work. She's throwing a lot of pitches this inning, so seeing what they can get out of her as well.
To Eccles, goes down to 2 knees on to first. Gators take the series. Delbray, complete game, 1-hitter. She's fired up. Gators celebrate, why not, a run rule victory over Ole Miss on this Sunday. Final score of the Gators 12 and the Rebels 2.
A great job there to finish out the game by Lexi Delbray. Again, a rough start, but it's not about how you start. It's definitely about how you finish. And I believe the Gators are going to take this going into postseason.
So the Gators 12 runs on 13 hits, win the series over Ole Miss at 12-2 final. For Sydney Little, John Watkins, our entire crew here on this Sunday. Gators win the series. We'll take on Florida State Wednesday, first pitch of 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. I'm Kyle Crooks saying so long and have a great rest of your weekend here from the ballpark. Gators win it by 10 runs.